Despite her years of service, Ruth had always regarded the eerie tales circulating in their office as mere figments of imagination. However, the unexpected encounter with her colleague would soon plunge her into a realm of unexplainable phenomena. Days after the peculiar incident in the washroom, Ruth's routine took an unsettling turn. As she diligently worked at her station, a chilling breeze swept through the office, causing her to shiver despite the lack of air conditioning. The lights flickered intermittently, casting eerie shadows that danced across her desk. Ruth, typically unfazed, began to sense an unusual presence. A faint whisper echoed in the air, barely audible yet sending shivers down her spine. She dismissed it as a byproduct of an overactive imagination, attributing it to the recent unsettling encounter in the washroom. As the days passed, Ruth's colleagues started sharing strange accounts. Whispers of a spectral figure resembling Ruth circulated among the employees. Some claimed to have seen her reflection in the washroom mirror, a silent apparition mimicking her every move. Others reported encountering an inexplicable coldness whenever they approached Ruth's workstation. The once mundane office environment transformed into a breeding ground for inexplicable occurrences. Ruth, who had long disregarded the tales of the supernatural, found herself at the center of an escalating paranormal phenomenon. Colleagues hesitated to interact with her, fearing encounters with her spectral double. Late one evening, as Ruth toiled away at her desk, the office plunged into an unnatural silence. The hum of computers and the distant chatter of colleagues ceased abruptly. The air thickened with an otherworldly tension, and Ruth felt an invisible gaze fixated on her. Suddenly, a chilling voice whispered her name, sending tremors through her being. Startled, she looked around, finding herself alone in the now dimly lit office. Shadows danced in the corners, and an icy gust of wind ruffled the papers on her desk. The spectral encounters escalated, with Ruth becoming a spectral doppelganger within the office's haunted corridors. The once vibrant and bustling workplace now echoed with eerie whispers and flickering lights. Ruth, caught in the grip of the supernatural, struggled to discern reality from the spectral realm that seemed to envelop her. The employees, once a close-knit team, now tiptoed around Ruth, unable to shake the unease that clung to her presence. The washroom, once a mundane space, became a portal to an uncanny reflection of Ruth that only a few dared to witness. As the paranormal activity intensified, Ruth found herself at a crossroads. The thin veil between the ordinary and the supernatural blurred, and she grappled with the unsettling realization that her tenure in the company had become intertwined with forces beyond comprehension. The once skeptical Ruth now faced the spectral enigma that had woven its tendrils into the very fabric of her work environment, leaving her to navigate the shadows that lurked in every corner of the haunted office. The manager of the accounting department, a diligent and committed individual, had cultivated a reputation for her unwavering work ethic, often immersing herself in the responsibilities of her role well beyond the regular work hours. The office, like many workplaces with a storied past, had become a repository for unsettling tales, ranging from unnerving encounters with doppelgangers to unexplained incidents in empty cubicles. On a particular day, the manager, undeterred by the eerie stories that circulated within the office, decided to extend her overtime routine. This time, however, she insisted that her subordinates accompany her. Despite their initial reluctance, the staff members yielded to the unspoken pressure, realizing that leaving before 9 p.m. was not an option. As the clock inched towards 7 p.m., her subordinates decided to step out to grab some food, leaving the manager alone at her workstation. The hum of the air conditioner and the soft glow of the computer screen provided a surreal backdrop as she diligently worked through the financial reports. Amid the quietude, a faint humming sound drifted through the air, echoing the melody she absent-mindedly hummed to herself. Assuming it was one of her subordinates returning, she inquired about their absence during the food run. Strangely, there was no response, only an unsettling silence that left her slightly offended, but more perplexed. The return of her subordinates from the store painted an even stranger picture. They confirmed that they had all gone out, leaving the office empty aside from her. The manager, now confronted with the inexplicable occurrence, felt a ripple of discomfort but chose to immerse herself back in her work, attributing the incident to mere imagination, or perhaps an odd echo in the office space. As the hands of the clock inched towards 9 p.m., signaling the impending end of the overtime, the manager decided to take a brief break and headed to the toilet. The dimly lit hallway leading to the restroom seemed to stretch longer in the hushed atmosphere of the late hour. Entering the solitude of the restroom, she found an eerie calmness contrasting with the usual hustle of the office. Inside the cubicle, she continued her humming, attempting to relax in the familiar routine. However, her peace was shattered when she noticed an unmistakable sound. Someone else was humming, mirroring her tune. She froze, her senses heightened as the humming persisted. The melody seemed to draw nearer, echoing her own hums in an unsettling synchrony. Intrigued yet unnerved, she hummed again, and to her dismay, the responding melody grew audibly closer, as if the mysterious hummer mirrored her every move. A chill ran down her spine as the realization dawned. She was not alone. Panic seized her, and overwhelmed by fear, she bolted out of the cubicle, the restroom's door slamming shut behind her. A scream escaped her lips, reverberating through the quiet corridors. Startled by the abrupt commotion, her subordinates rushed to her side, their faces etched with concern. Wide-eyed and trembling, the manager recounted the chilling encounter in the restroom, the eerie humming, the mysterious shadow that seemed to accompany the sound, all within the supposedly empty confines of the office. The staff, now gripped by a collective sense of unease, exchanged bewildered glances. The manager's experience defied all logic, challenging their understanding of the familiar workplace. Despite the attempt to rationalize the incident, the unsettling nature of the occurrence lingered in the air. From that fateful night onwards, the manager, once known for her steadfast dedication to overtime, shunned the late hours as if haunted by the ghostly echoes of the mysterious humming. The office, once a space of routine and familiarity, now harbored an otherworldly atmosphere, leaving its occupants to question the thin boundary between the ordinary and the inexplicable within the shadows of the deserted office. Paul, the newly hired employee, immersed himself in his tasks with an extraordinary commitment, eager to make a positive impression in the company. One day, during a late lunch in the office pantry, a suited man entered, an unfamiliar figure exuding an air of authority within the company. Dressed impeccably in a suit and tie, the man, who introduced himself as Mr. Perez, seemed to hold a high position. A smile exchanged between them created an initial impression of warmth and friendliness. Paul appreciated the man's amiable demeanor, assuming that Mr. Perez was a well-respected member of the company. As they both prepared their beverages, Mr. Perez engaged Paul in a conversation, breaking the silence with inquiries about his work. Paul, grateful for the attention and camaraderie, discovered that Mr. Perez was the department head of another department. The stories they shared built a camaraderie that made Paul feel comfortable and welcomed by this seemingly affable figure. However, the pleasant encounter took a terrifying turn. A message chimed on Paul's phone, reminding him of the impending need to return to his workstation. Politely, Paul decided to bid farewell to Mr. Perez. To his confusion and horror, the man was no longer seated where he was just moments ago. Instead, Paul found him standing near, facing away from him. As Paul called out to express his departure, Mr. Perez slowly turned around, revealing a nightmarish sight. The department head's eyes rolled back, leaving only the eerie whiteness visible. His figure took on a translucent quality, hovering slightly above the ground. A wave of terror surged through Paul, prompting him to hastily retreat from the pantry. The horror etched on his face caught the attention of his colleagues as he returned to his desk. Desperate to make sense of the encounter, he shared the chilling details of his experience. It was then that he learned the shocking truth. Mr. Perez had indeed been a department head at the company, but he met an untimely demise due to a heart attack while diligently working. The revelation left Paul haunted by the ghostly encounter in the pantry, forever changing his perception of the workplace, and the thin veil that separated the living from the departed within the company's walls. The lingering presence of Mr. Perez served as a chilling reminder that not all colleagues were of the corporeal kind. The office, a once mundane space, became a breeding ground for whispers and uneasy glances. Paul, the newly hired employee, found himself at the epicenter of a growing unease that permeated the corridors of the company. The encounter with Mr. Perez, the spectral department head, cast a pall over the workplace, leaving an indelible mark on Paul's psyche. As days passed, the ordinary sounds of a bustling office were replaced by hushed conversations and furtive glances. Paul's colleagues, initially dismissive of his ghostly encounter, began sharing their own unsettling experiences. Strange shadows danced across the walls, and the air in the office seemed to thicken with an otherworldly tension. Paul, unable to shake the lingering fear, delved into the history of the company, searching for clues about Mr. Perez's demise. The more he uncovered, the more ominous the truth became. Mr. Perez had been a dedicated department head, known for his relentless work ethic and unwavering commitment to the company. His untimely death had left a void in the workplace, and the spectral remnants of his presence now haunted the very halls he once navigated in the flesh. Late one evening, driven by a morbid curiosity, Paul decided to revisit the scene of his encounter, the office pantry. The once familiar space now seemed cloaked in an eerie stillness. The overhead lights flickered sporadically, casting eerie shadows that danced along the pantry shelves. As Paul stood near the spot where he last saw Mr. Perez, a chill ran down his spine. He could almost sense the lingering energy, a spectral residue left behind by the ghostly figure. With each passing moment, the air seemed to thicken, and a soft whisper echoed through the pantry, sending shivers down Paul's spine. In the dim light, a faint apparition materialized, the translucent figure of Mr. Perez. His eyes, void of color, fixed on Paul. The spectral department head extended a spectral hand, reaching out in a gesture that seemed to beckon Paul closer. Torn between fear and an inexplicable compulsion, Paul hesitated. The ghostly encounter defied the boundaries of the rational world, plunging him into a realm where the living and the departed converged. The office, once a place of routine and professionalism, now bore witness to a paranormal undercurrent that eluded comprehension. As weeks passed, Paul's interactions with his spectral colleague intensified. The apparition of Mr. Perez manifested at unpredictable intervals, each encounter leaving Paul on edge. Colleagues, now fully aware of the supernatural presence, tiptoed around the subject, exchanging knowing glances that spoke volumes of their shared trepidation. In an attempt to find solace, Paul sought the guidance of a seasoned medium who specialized in paranormal phenomena. The medium, sensing the lingering energy, confirmed the spectral presence of Mr. Perez. The department head, it seemed, was tethered to the earthly realm by unresolved matters, a spectral anomaly that defied the natural order. Haunted by the relentless encounters, Paul delved deeper into the circumstances surrounding Mr. Perez's death. Rumors circulated among the employees, suggesting that the department head had been on the brink of uncovering a corporate scandal. Whispers of internal strife and hidden agendas cast a sinister shadow over the company's seemingly pristine facade. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, Paul confronted the spectral Mr. Perez. In a tense exchange, the apparition revealed fragmented memories of his final moments, the weight of secrets, the burden of knowledge, and the betrayal that had led to his premature demise. The ghostly figure implored Paul to uncover the truth and bring justice to the lingering shadows of the office. As Paul delved into the labyrinth of corporate secrets, he unearthed a web of deceit that extended far beyond the walls of the company. The scandal Mr. Perez had been on the verge of exposing involved high-ranking officials, hidden agendas, and a trail of corruption that tainted the very foundation of the workplace. The revelation sparked a chain of events that transcended the supernatural. Paul, now armed with the damning evidence, exposed the truth to the world. The scandal unraveled, leading to investigations, resignations, and a corporate reckoning that shook the company to its core. With the truth laid bare, the spectral presence of Mr. Perez gradually dissipated. The office, once a haunted enclave, returned to a semblance of normalcy. The whispers faded, the shadows retreated, and the oppressive weight lifted from the shoulders of the employees. As for Paul, the harrowing journey had left an indelible mark on his life. The boundary between the living and the departed had blurred. Yeah, revealing the unsettling realities that lurked beneath the surface of the corporate world. The office, once a symbol of routine, had become a nexus of paranormal mysteries and corporate intrigue, a place where the echoes of the past could no longer be ignored.